You'll never be anything, Olivia. That's why you don't deserve a single penny from us. My own mother said that in front of everyone, while slicing into a fancy steak like she hadn't just shattered me into pieces. Just 4 lines in, and you already feel the burn, right? That's because this isn't just a story, it's a full-blown reality check. So if you're someone who's been underestimated, mocked, or flat out humiliated, hit that like, subscribe, and share this. Because what's coming next will change how you see revenge. My name is Olivia. I was the invisible one at every family event, the daughter who wore budget shoes, the one who never got praised, never got asked about her day. My younger brother Ryan? Golden boy. Even when he crashed Dad's car or failed classes, they treated him like royalty. Me? I got a lecture for breathing too loud. So when Mom announced she and Dad had revised their will and that everything was going to Ryan, I didn't even flinch. I just sipped my water, pretending I didn't feel the world cracking beneath my chair. You're not responsible like Ryan, Mom continued, as if I hadn't been living in a shoebox apartment working 3 jobs to pay off student loans. We're doing what's best for the family, I hope you understand. She smiled, fakely. Polite, corporate. Dad didn't even look at me. He just nodded like some corporate puppet. I caught Aunt Lisa exchanging glances with Uncle Mitch, probably whispering in their minds told you she'd end up with nothing. But what no one at that table knew was that the waiter walking toward us wasn't just bringing dessert. He was holding an envelope. And inside that envelope was a secret I had kept for 6 years. A secret that would make my entire family choke on their overpriced tiramisu. The waiter placed the envelope gently in front of me like he already knew it was explosive. Everyone paused, forks in midair. My mom raised an eyebrow. Ryan looked confused, and Aunt Lisa whispered, "What's that?" I didn't rush. I picked up the envelope slowly, savoring the silence. Then I looked straight at my mom and said, "You said I don't deserve a penny. Let's see if he agrees." She scoffed. "What are you talking about, Olivia?" I opened the envelope and pulled out a thick, embossed letter. The golden logo at the top made Aunt Lisa lean forward, squinting. Ryan's jaw dropped before I even finished reading. It was a legal confirmation of a multi-million-dollar land deal, and my name was on every line. 6 years ago, while they were laughing at my meaningless remote job and my tiny apartment, I had started a freelance web design business from scratch. It was slow at first, one client here, another there, but I stuck with it. Worked nights, skipped vacations, saved every dollar. Then I met James, a retired tech executive who needed help launching a charity website. I did the job for free. He loved my work so much, he introduced me to people I'd only seen in Forbes articles. Fast forward 2 years later, I was handling high-profile clients, investing my profits smartly, and eventually I bought an undeveloped plot of land on the outskirts of Austin, Texas. Dirt cheap. They all called me dumb for it. "What are you going to do with dirt?" Ryan mocked once. "Well, last month, Apple announced a massive tech campus right next to that land. The value of my property skyrocketed overnight, and I sold it. Quietly, strategically, for just under $6.4 million. I slid the letter across the table. My dad picked it up with trembling hands. His face turned pale. Mom stared at me like I'd just transformed into someone she didn't recognize. This can't be real." "Oh, it's very real," I said, my voice steady. "And before you ask, no, I'm not giving a single cent to Ryan." He slammed his fork down. "What the hell, Liv? We're family." "No, Ryan," I said, smiling for the first time that evening. "We're just people who share a dinner table. Real family doesn't throw you away when you're struggling." The silence that followed was so heavy, even the clinking plates in the background felt loud. No one knew what to say, but I wasn't done. I leaned back and added, "Oh, and the building this restaurant is in? I own 40% of it." Mom gasped. "You own this?" I nodded. "Yeah, so technically, you insulted your millionaire daughter on her own property." And just like that, the balance of power shifted. But the real twist was still waiting at the door. Just as the weight of my last sentence settled into the room, the double doors of the restaurant opened, and in walked Mr. Carlyle, the man behind one of the biggest commercial real estate firms in the state. Sharp suit, gold watch, confidence that turned heads. He walked straight toward our table with a smile on his face and said, "Olivia, we're all set. The signing documents are in my car, if you're ready." You could practically hear the air get sucked out of the room. My mom looked like she'd swallowed a knife. "You're doing business? With him?" I nodded, slowly, letting every second hang heavy. "Yes, Mr. Carlyle and I are partnering on a new development project. The land I sold? I reinvested part of the money into a downtown skyscraper deal. I'll be co-owner of the commercial floor space." Ryan blurted, "You're kidding. You? A skyscraper? Since when do you do business with Carlyle Holdings?" Mr. Carlyle chuckled, glancing at Ryan like he was a toddler throwing a tantrum. "Your sister is sharper than you think. She doesn't talk much, but she works harder than anyone I've ever partnered with. We're lucky to have her." And just like that, Ryan, the self-proclaimed future CEO of the family, was reduced to a sulking spectator. I turned to my mom and dad. "Remember last year when you said I should be more like Ryan? That I'd never survive on my own because I wasn't strategic like him?" Dad cleared his throat. "We were just worried about you." "Were you?" I asked. "Or were you embarrassed by me? Because I didn't brag or ask you for money or show off like Ryan. You said I was wasting my life. But while Ryan was partying in Vegas, I was working 16-hour days, building something real." Uncle Mitch, who'd been unusually quiet, finally spoke up. "Wait, you mean to tell us you've been sitting on millions while we thought you were broke?" I smiled. "Yes, because I didn't want anyone's validation. I wanted freedom. And guess what? That freedom now includes buying the house you all made fun of me for living in and turning it into a luxury rental." Aunt Lisa clutched her pearls. "So, what now? You came here just to humiliate us?" I looked her dead in the eyes. "Number, I came here because I was invited to a family dinner. I didn't plan on anything, but when Mom said I didn't deserve a penny, that changed everything." There was a pause, the kind where people rethink their entire existence. And then, like fate had a twisted sense of humor, the restaurant manager came over and politely said, "Excuse me, Ms. Olivia. We've received final confirmation. Your offer for the full building has been accepted. Congratulations on becoming the sole owner." The table went into shock. My mother, my own mother, looked up at me, voice shaking. "You bought the whole building?" I leaned forward, elbows on the table, and whispered, "Every brick of it." Dad stared at his plate like it could save him. Ryan looked betrayed, like I'd stolen something from him. But I didn't gloat. I didn't scream. I didn't throw a tantrum like they did when I was broke. I just stood up, took one final sip of my drink, and said, "You all thought I was invisible. Turns out I was just out of your league." As I turned to leave, Ryan stood up abruptly. "Wait. Olivia, wait. Can we talk? Maybe we could work together?" I paused, looked at him. "You had 15 years to be a brother, Ryan. Now, I'm busy being the woman you all said I could never become." And as I walked out that door, Mr. Carlyle followed behind me like I was the VIP he always knew I was. But I wasn't done surprising them yet. Because the real cherry on top was parked outside. The moment I stepped outside, the warm evening air hit my face. But it wasn't the weather that stopped the entire family from breathing. It was the black Maserati parked right at the entrance, engine purring like a secret waiting to be unleashed. The valet opened the driver's side door for me. Mom gasped from behind the glass door. Dad actually stepped outside, rubbing his eyes like it was a hallucination. Ryan? He looked like he'd just seen a ghost. "Whose car is that?" he asked, already knowing the answer. I smiled, brushing a strand of hair behind my ear. "Mine. Paid in full. No loans, no cosigners. Just 6 years of silence, hustle, and not asking you people for anything." Mom staggered forward like she was trying to catch up to the version of me she'd never bothered to get to know. "Olivia, sweetheart, we didn't mean everything we said." I laughed. Not bitterly. Just done. "Yes, you did. You meant every word when you called me a failure, a burden, and a disappointment. You just didn't expect me to rise without your help." She tried to smile. "But we're still family." "Family?" I raised an eyebrow. "When Ryan needed a new car, you sold my laptop. When I got sick and needed help, you told me to toughen up. And when I graduated with honors, you didn't even come." Dad finally spoke. "We were just trying to push you to be better." "No," I said firmly. "You were trying to break me into something that looked like Ryan. And when I didn't fit your mold, you decided I wasn't worth the investment." Ryan stepped forward, putting on his fake business voice. "Okay, okay. Maybe we were a little harsh, but we're all adults here. I mean, maybe we could collaborate on something? I have some startup ideas." I raised my hand, cutting him off. "Ryan, I'm not your investor. I'm not your safety net. And I'm definitely not your backup plan." He clenched his jaw. "You think you're better than all of us now?" I walked toward him until we were nearly face to face. "Number, I know I am. Because while you were sleeping in till noon and mocking my dead-end job, I was out building an empire in silence. And now, you can't even afford a seat at my table." Aunt Lisa and Uncle Mitch walked out too, awkward and wide-eyed. "Olivia," she said, "you should have told us. We would have supported you if we knew." I tilted my head. "Would you have? Or would you have tried to take credit for it, like you did when I got that scholarship, and you told everyone you helped pull strings?" Dead silence again. I turned back to the valet, nodding. He handed me the keys. But just as I was about to get in, Mr. Carlyle called out, "Olivia, don't forget. The board meeting starts in an hour. They're eager to hear your pitch." I smiled. "I'll be there. Right after I drop off the new lease terms for this restaurant. The rent goes up next month." The look on my mother's face, shock, disbelief, and just a hint of regret, was priceless. She opened her mouth, then closed it, like she wanted to say sorry but didn't know where to start. And it hit me. I wasn't angry anymore. I was free, but I had one last thing to say before I drove off. I looked at all of them standing there, people who had mocked, underestimated, and discarded me, and said, "Next time you plan a family dinner, make sure you invite the right Olivia, because the old one doesn't exist anymore." Then I drove off, not just in a luxury car, but in peace. But just when I thought it was all over, my phone buzzed. A name popped up I hadn't seen in years. And what he said would change everything. My phone lit up with a name I hadn't seen since college, Daniel Carter, my ex, the one who left me for someone more ambitious. The one who once said, "You're too soft, Olivia. You'll never make it in the real world." Back then, it shattered me. Now, I laughed, but curiosity got the better of me. I answered, "Olivia?" he said, almost cautiously. "Wow, you actually picked up." "I have 5 minutes," I replied. "Use them wisely." He chuckled nervously. I saw the article, the one about your real estate project. And the tech deal. You're everywhere." Good PR team, I said flatly. He cleared his throat. Listen, I was just wondering, maybe we could catch up sometime? I've been working on a few ideas and I thought maybe we could. Stop, I said. Are you seriously trying to network with the same woman you once said didn't have the guts to succeed? I didn't mean it like that. You did, I cut in. And it's fine. You're part of the reason I became who I am. So thanks for leaving. If you hadn't, I might have stayed small. There was silence. Anyway, I continued, I'm busy. Board meeting, staff waiting, and a building to manage. You take care. I hung up. No anger, no revenge, just power. Because that was the real win. Not the money, not the Maserati, not the deals. It was that I no longer needed validation from anyone. Not my parents, not my brother, not an ex who once made me feel small. I had become the woman I always dreamed of, unbothered, unstoppable, and untouchable. And just before I stepped into the elevator for my meeting, I checked my reflection in the glass and whispered the words I never thought I'd say out loud. They broke me, and I built an empire from the pieces. As the doors closed behind me, I realized this wasn't my ending. It was only the beginning.